They need to feel safe to fail. They need to know that if they fail, there's a way to come back from that. In fact, that's what success looks like.
I'm Becky Brouwer, and I'm a Sendy Mom. Welcome to the Sendy Mom Podcast. Welcome to the Sendy Mom Podcast. I am so excited to be here with my new friend, TaLisha Landon. So I found TaLisha on Instagram when I was looking for the Mountain Mamas, which is, have you heard of Mountain Mamas? The group that they go out and do a lot of things. So yeah, so I was looking for them and then I found her because what's your Instagram handle?
Utah Mountain Mama.
Utah Mountain Mama. Yeah. And I looked at her pictures and I read some of her things and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so my type of person. So I'm really excited to talk to you about being a Sendy mom. So I'll introduce her just a little bit. So she's got a degree in psychology and human development from, Utah State, right? Okay. And she is trained in research-based parenting programs of Everyday Strong, Circle of Security Parenting, Strengthening Families Program 10-14.
Yeah, 10 to 14-year-olds.
10 to 14-year-olds. Okay. And she says these shape how she parents, prioritizing emotional safety, connection, and building confidence. So I find it interesting you say you weren't really an outdoorsy kid, but that's a lot of what you do with your kids. You take them outside and be in nature. And let's see, she's also currently writing and illustrating a children's book and teaching herself to paint.
Yes.
So you can illustrate.
Every day, that's my goal, is just paint until I'm good enough to.
But did you do that when you were young? Or
nope. I am not artistic whatsoever. Okay. So this is completely new. I just was like, you know what? I want this book to be all mine and I want to be able to give it to my kids, even if I don't even sell a single copy. I want it to be like a family heirloom. And so I'm painting something you can learn. And you can do that. I remember when I lived in California, my kids when they were in elementary school, I had a friend who needed an art docent. And I've never pictured myself as artistic either. And so she was like, can you do this with me? It was like for the whole school. But then I had to be an art docent in my daughter's class as well. And they had all these videos to teach you how to do whatever the art was that they were having you do. And I painted this picture of this guy and a horse. I mean, the horse looked a little funny, but it was actually kind of beautiful to me. When I was done, I was like, I didn't know I could do that. So I know we tell ourselves these stories that I'm not an artist, I'm not a photographer, I'm not a, whatever, but you can learn those things. A lot of things are learned. Just like, some people have these natural abilities to be able to do things, but it doesn't mean we can't also learn and be good at them.
Yeah, exactly. And you just do a little bit at a time and you can learn how to do it. Before we get started, really, so tell me about your book. Tell me what it
awesome. So I want to merge the outdoors with this concept of, I'll talk more about Everyday Strong in a little bit, but having emotional safety, connection, and confidence for our kids. Okay. And so I had this idea for a book where, a mom and a child, they go out on this backpacking trip and they face all these different obstacles, but the mom is able to use emotional safety, connection, and confidence to help their child get through these different obstacles. And then later will help them in life as well.
That's beautiful.
It's going to be, and my whole goal is to try and get these illustrations to be where the pictures are just as important as the words so that you see it and you can immerse yourself in that. And
so it's really like, it's a parenting book.
Yes.
And it's like a child's book.
So there are two different types of children's books. You have a children's book that's for children. They learn letters or learn whatever, or it's geared towards them. But there's also this subset group of children's books where it's actually for grown-ups and it's a message for them, but comes out packaged as a children's book. So the children love it. You also learn from it.
Yeah, like a lot of like emotional resiliency and things like that are super important. Okay, well let's back up then and let's talk about what you think, why you'd want to be on this podcast. Let's do that.
So I have always been kind of a silent Emulous observer of people who are Sendy. So I've always wanted to emulate that. I've always wanted to be like that, but I haven't felt like I've been very Sendy growing up as a very cautious child. I'd see my older brother do these extreme sports, skiing, but doing it without being super cautious like me, or just going on these big trips and seeing the world and climbing Mount Rainier and doing all these wild things. And I wish I was like that, but I was always a little bit scared to do those types of things. And so when you reached out and were like, a Sendy mom is just someone that just goes for it no matter what. Doesn't necessarily have to be these extreme sports or these extreme things. I realized, you know what? I have been quietly sending it my entire life, just doing different things, not necessarily those things I always thought a Sendy person was. And
and that's totally the point. It's like, we are all Sendy in our own ways. And like, I do a lot of those outdoors, like sports, skiing and mountain biking and things like that, but I'm scared when I'm doing it. And so part of it was like, I know I think pretty much everybody feels that way. Everybody gets scared of doing things. And so, but we learn these tools to be able to overcome those fears and just do it anyway. I mean, like illustrating your own book, that is pretty Sendy.
It's going to be a long process, but I've learned too, it's like that. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You don't have to, you can just do it a little bit at a time. I have my whole life to, do these things I want, to be healthy, to do all these things. And it doesn't mean, I'm just going to push it to the future because I have my whole life to do it. It's like, no, just do a little bit each day and you'll get there.
I love that. Yep. Eating an elephant. Yep. Definitely heard that. Love that. Really good. Okay. Well, why don't we start back from your childhood? And it sounds like you were kind of more of a cautious child.
Yes.
And tell me about your family dynamics.
Okay. So I am one of 6 children.
Okay.
I have a sister. She's 11 years older than me. So really by the time I was kind of old enough to really remember things, she was out of the house. She was gone. Okay. So I have 2 older brothers and 2 younger brothers. I'm sandwiched between 4 boys. My dad was, high school history and American government teacher and the head soccer coach at Wasatch High School. And so he was very big in the community with that. And my mom, stay-at-home mom, but also eventually went back and taught adult education, helped people get their GEDs. But so it was me and a house of boys, very sports-centered home, soccer, sports center on all the time, just all these different things. So it was kind of not in a negative way. My mom's going to listen to this and she's going to be like, oh, you thought your house was chaotic? But it's like not in like a negative way. It was just,
it's
busy and loud and messy, but not in like a dirty house messy way, but just life was kind of messy. And so, sometimes my older brothers would get in trouble. I recall going into classes in like the 8th grade and the first week, the teacher being like, you are nothing like your brothers. So they're just this kind of wild West upbringing.
Did you feel like you had to kind of balance that out?
I feel like I'm also a little bit more introverted and I think I get overstimulated a lot. And so I would oftentimes just kind of sit and observe. I became more of an observer of everything that was going on, but wanting to be
part of it too.
More, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what's your relationship with your brothers?
It's great. I have different relationships with different ones, but especially as we get older, it never was really a negative relationship with one of them. We had a lot of butting heads.
As always happens.
Now he's actually probably one that I'm more closer to than the others. And it's just.
And what are some of the things that your parents did to encourage you to kind of take risks or to not to be?
So I don't recall them really truly encouraging us to take risks. We kind of were like in that mode of, this is what our family does. This is family legacy. We play soccer. We, we're a sports family, that type of thing. Looking back, I'm sure if I wanted to try something, they would have been very supportive of it. My mom all the time talks about like, oh, I wish I would have known this about you. I would have gotten you that American Girl doll you wanted if I would have known that I would have made it work. Like that type of thing. It wasn't, I don't think openly encouraged because we just kind of did what the family did.
Did you do sports then?
Yeah, I played soccer and ran track and that's the thing too, is I was never really good at it, but I did it. Anyway.
Yeah. And which is what we do, and so it sounds to me like you're a little bit of a polymath, like you try a lot of different things. Like do you get bored of stuff and then you go on to something else?
I am definitely a generalist. So a book I read is called Range, Why Generalist.
Okay. I've never even heard of a generalist.
Tell me about I wrote it down. So I forget words all the time.
I recently heard the word polymath and I was like, oh yeah, that's me. But maybe not, because it's like referring to like Benjamin Franklin and Da Vinci and stuff, that they just, they would get really good at one thing and then they get really good at something else. And then they kind of bridge those two, well, Einstein, with music, he was such a good musician and he was able to bridge that with his relativity, theory of relativity and things like that. And so anyway, but generalist sounds maybe more of what I am. So yes, tell me.
You're good. So the book's called Range, Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. Because we see all the time, like, oh, the Tiger Woods of the world, like they did it since they were little and they're so good at it. But that actually, the research shows that that's not really who does the best in life, who excels. It's those people that tried so many different things. And then actually, I think the average CEO is like 42 years old. They use those things and they're able to connect what they learn to help them. And so they're able to actually do better than those that specialize generally in the long run.
I love that. Okay. So it is kind of like that same idea. Yeah. So yes, being a generalist is actually more healthy for you, probably. It gives you a better...
And it's actually healthier for kids. They call them the sampling years. So those first 11 years, just letting our children just try all sorts of different things. Let them quit, but setting parameters around it. Like, okay, let's try this new thing for this set amount of time. And if you want to quit after it, that's great. Like helping coach them, not just letting them quit when they're having a bad day, but really just letting them sample so many different things. And then around 11 is when they can start specializing more. And that helps with burnout. That helps with sports with injuries.
Yeah.
It really helps them. And then they're able to do better because they're able to make those connections. Like, oh, from this, I can do this in this scenario because they have more to grab from.
Yeah. And it's interesting because we really praise the people that spend, like Tiger Woods and whatever, that just spend all their life getting really good at something. And and we should. I mean, like anytime you put so much effort into anything, we need to acknowledge that and celebrate it. Right. But I think that we overlook these people that are doing so many different things and are also growing and may not get to, like I was telling you, like 100%. Something they can get up to 80% of it. Okay, so tell me about your high school years. What are some of the things that where you felt like you succeeded or where you felt like there was maybe something you decided you didn't want anymore, goals you had, those kinds of things.
So in high school, I was very like, okay, try and just be on that right path, be the good girl, do all these things. And I stuck with my soccer, things like that. But one thing that stands out really a lot in those high school years I really wanted to be like a student body officer. In ninth grade, I ran for not student body, it was class secretary. Okay. I put all this work into it, all this effort. I didn't get it. And obviously that was devastating at the time. But then the next year, 10th grade, I was like, I'm going to try again. And I went for it again and I didn't get it again. So 11th grade for my senior year, I was like, I want to be this. But instead I went for student body secretary instead of class. And I actually got it. And I think that actually is a good accumulation of what my high school years were like, where I wasn't the best at everything. I wasn't, I didn't always succeed. But what I learned from that was to keep going, not to let what I think others might think of me stop me, but also it taught me to learn from even my failures. And I think that's the biggest thing I learned from that high school years and growing up is just like, there's a lesson in everything. In fact, that's what success looks like. And that's what the main, that's life is we're here to just learn and to grow from it. And that's what resilience truly is.
It really is. Yeah. Okay. So take me back to like that first time when you didn't get to be the secretary of your class. Like, how did that feel? What did it look like?
I remember just being devastated, in my room crying, but then to everybody else, I was fine. Oh no, it's good. Like, cause I was easygoing, TaLisha that would just, we're good. But inside I felt very rejected, very, but then also very determined, like, no, I can do this. Like,
okay.
Let me try again.
Yeah. So it sounds like maybe one of the tools that you used was more of like, I'm going to show them I can do this, right? Some confidence.
A little bit of confidence. And a lot of it too is like my thoughts is a lot. And I've learned that even as an adult, like it's cognitive behavioral therapy is so important, like where our thoughts can change so much. And I just remember thinking, okay, here's the facts. I didn't get it. It doesn't mean that I'm not well liked. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with me. It didn't happen. And then I was able to use my thoughts to be like, let's try this again. And our thoughts have so much power to get us through.
Yeah, that's pretty good at like 14. To have that kind of figured out, to be able to think that through. But did you feel like you got any kind of coaching from your parents on that, or it was
they were very much just, all right,
Go do your
Okay, cool. You're
thing.
trying this thing. That's great. And
Yeah. Then maybe they didn't need to because you kinda had it already in your mind. Okay, so then you go on to college. You went to
Mhm.
Utah State. What made you decide to study psychology?
So I actually first went to Snow College,
Okay.
and then I took a psychology class, and I was the TA for that psychology teacher, and I just loved it. It made sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
it was just like, it's kind of common sense, but
Yeah.
realizing that it's uncommon common sense. It's really not that common, but to
Yeah.
me, it just how my brain worked. And being an observer my whole life, like as a kid, I'd sit back and watch what was going on around me. I learned that, like, oh, that's a skill, that's a superpower I have, is to just observe and to take that information and learn from it. And so at Snow is when I decided, like, okay, when I get to Utah State, I
Uh-huh.
will study psychology.
That's really cool. Okay, and then tell me about all of these other but when did you start studying the parenting stuff? Was it after you were a parent or before?
So after I became a parent, in 2020, I actually won a trip all through Utah. It was just something I saw on social media, my family. I had 2 kids at the time, and I was for 4 people to go to, like, for 12 days, go to 6 different counties and have us do activities and do these things. And we traveled a little bit, my husband and I and stuff, and did outdoor things with our kids. But it was at
Okay.
that moment I realized, like, "Oh, I like writing about this and posting about it and doing about it." And so that's how Utah Mountain Mama was born. It was first actually born just telling places to go with kids and talking
Okay.
about, like, tips on getting outside. And it wasn't until I was a mother that I realized, like, oh, looking back on my childhood, the times I felt strongest and that felt best were when I was outside. I was hiking, I was going to the river, and we were just playing at the river with my brothers and friends and stuff like that. And it originally started out with just tips on going out with our kids and that type thing. But then at the same time, I was working for Weber State. I was teaching healthy relationship classes in the community. Fortunately, because of COVID, the legislature cut funding to those classes, and I was
So, yeah.
yeah, so
Anyway.
it'd be community classes. They were
Mhm.
free healthy relationship classes, but obviously we lost funding, and so I lost that job. But we would work with Davis Behavioral Health and a little bit. And so I called my contact there and was like, "Hey, are you still going to be teaching these relationship classes, or have any other classes
Okay.
that I could teach?" And that's when I was introduced to Everyday Strong, Circle Security Parenting, Strengthening Families. And
Oh,
it was like it clicked for me, especially with Everyday Strong. That's the
okay.
main one
Uh-huh.
where I was training these, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I can use the outdoors and use it to raise resilient kids and use it with this research and everything. And that's where I kind of
Okay, now
combined
you
the
have to
two.
tell me all about Everyday Strong. Okay, tell me
Okay.
about
I love
this
Everyday
program.
Strong. So have you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So you got the pyramid, and the premise is, you got physical needs. If they're met, then they can go up, and you have just different needs that are met, belonging. And if a person has all these needs met, they become self-actualized. They
Right.
become, the best version of themselves.
Which is sometimes the hardest place to be in because if you have all of your basic needs met, there's so many choices of where you can go, right?
It really opens up so much.
Yeah.
So Everyday Strong was actually created from United Way of Utah County.
Okay.
And they took Maslow's hierarchy of needs and took the research and found how we can use it to help our children. So the SHARP survey, I don't know if you've heard of the SHARP survey.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's like 8th, 10th, 12th grade. They give to all students in Utah.
Okay, that's where I've heard of it. Yeah.
And it's their mental health. And they were finding this trend where, like, oh, our children's mental health is getting worse and worse every year.
Okay.
The anxiety, depression. How can we help parents and teachers and people in the community have a simple way to help children be resilient? And so they took Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and they have different steps, but it's very similar. So you have the physical needs.
Yeah.
And first seeing our children's physical needs met. Are they just hangry right now? Are they hungry?
Yeah.
Do they need sleep? And first kind of filtering through that. Everything good there?
So basically teaching families how to do this. Right?
Yeah, teaching. Yeah. So teaching families like, okay, look, you have a child that's struggling right now. Maybe they're acting out. Something's going on. Okay, let's look at their physical needs. Is there anything there that could be helped? If that's good, they need emotional safety. And so that looks like, they're safe to share their feelings. They're safe to fail. They're safe. They feel emotionally safe around you.
Right.
And then once they have the emotional safety, then we work on connecting with them. Sydney, doing stuff with them, like, oh, show me this game you're playing and sit side by side doing it. Let me share an experience I had. You just failed at something. Let me tell you about in high school when I tried out for student body secretary and I only got after 3 years, like that type of thing.
Okay.
And then after we connect, we help them build confidence. And help that looks like so many different things. Them teaching us a skill, going out, hiking, doing these things with them, these different things with them. And so it gives this framework for parents and all adults and working with children that, hey, this is something easy you can just go through your head and do to help raise resilient children. If they have these 3 things, someone that's emotionally safe, they can connect with and give them confidence or help them build their confidence, they will make it through anything.
They'll be able to overcome the things. And it's much better to give them that confidence. Like so often, I think, in the past, we as parents, it's just like, just do it, like do what's right. You just got to choose the right, whatever. And we haven't given them the tools that they need to actually develop that resilience. And so it's no wonder they don't feel very confident in themselves.
So, and most people think like, most people just jump to confidence, but it's like you actually have to have this base built first. You can't help a kid build confidence if they don't feel emotionally safe around you type thing.
Yeah. No, I love that. So do you teach this in like group classes or?
So I did with Davis Behavioral Health. I teach this in some of the others that kind of go along with it as well. This last year, I decided to take a break so that I could, because I had a baby in the summer, a little 8-month-old. So it's 4 kids. And I decided I need to take a break teaching these classes so I can be with them. So when I started teaching these classes, I realized like, oh, the outdoors is the perfect backdrop for teaching these skills, for helping. I can't remember what it's called. Side by side, I think is what. Side by side something. I can't remember.
Well, it's like connection.
That's how you connect with someone. The kid's not going to talk to you if you're like, let's sit down and have a talk. They're going to connect with you if you're on a trail just walking.
Do kids like to hike with you?
For the most part. If I push them too much, if we've gone too many times hiking, like we're done, we're sick of hiking.
Exactly. Yeah, you do have to find different things because I found once my kids got teenagers, they hated hiking and never wanted to come with me, and I was so sad. And then they get to be adults, and then they want to hike again. So they take this break a little bit, and so then you have to find different things, and so that's where creativity really comes in, right? To try to find,
and that's what's important too, finding things that they enjoy doing, and that's how you can connect with them. It's just like I talked about, like growing up. Family was like all about soccer, which I love soccer. Occasionally I'll play an adult league and I love it. I really, truly do. But sometimes I hold a little bit, not resentment, but a little bit of hard feelings towards soccer because I was like, oh, I wish I would have gone hiking more. I wish I would have been introduced to some of these other things. And so I have to remind myself with my own children that, okay, I can't push what I love too much. I can introduce that, but I really need to let them guide in those sampling years, especially what do they want to try and really do what they would like to do as well, so that they don't end up growing up and be like, I resent snowshoeing because my mom always wanted to go snowshoeing.
We lived in Australia for a few years, and my 16-year-old at the time, we'd take him to the beach, and he wouldn't put on a swimsuit. He would go and he wouldn't even put a towel out. He'd just go lie in the sand, and he was so mad. He did not want to be at the beach. I'm like, who doesn't want to go to the beach? But this is what happens. So this is just keep in mind, this might happen when they get to be teenagers and they just don't want to do whatever you think is fun.
And I'm already mentally preparing myself for that. And we try, like when we go on trips now, we try and be like, okay, here's a list of stuff. Everyone choose something. Or kind of instead of us guiding everything, let's let them have some choice and so that they really find what they like. And like, for example, we found out one of our children love museums. And so every time we go on a trip, we try and find at least one museum that we think they'd like. So it's not all hiking. It's not all
exactly
what I want to do.
Yeah, no, and I think that's part of the sampling, right? And but it's hard. Like you said that your mom will sit sometimes like, oh, if I would have known, then I would let you do this, whatever. We don't know. And actually your children don't always know either. And so that's why it's so important to be the guide as the parent, to be like, well, let's try this and let's try this. And even if they say, oh, I hate that, it doesn't mean that they won't come back to it at some point and then be like, maybe I'll try this again. Even like art, who would have known that you would have been an artist, like, and you don't feel bad that your mom didn't give you art lessons when you were young, right? We just pick things up whenever we
It was
want
probably
to.
something I didn't even want to do when I was young, but now I'm just like, I'm trying to find all these creative outlets. So I was like, oh, I want to try this.
I love that. I love that so much. Okay, so what does that look like when you're saying that you want to meld these things in? Like, how often, how much do you? I mean, you're talking about like letting them pick where you want to go, but as far as going into the outdoors, have you developed any kind of a program or anything like that to kind of meld those two things together? Or is it more of just like, be outside with your children to connect with them?
Yeah, it's more just be outside with these children to connect with them. I've tried, that's the crossroads I'm kind of at right now is like, where do I want to go with this exactly? Because I have a million different ideas from like photography, adventure, sessions to retreats to like, I've had so many different ideas come and go. And that's where I'm at my crossroads. Where do I want to go with this? How much effort do I truly want to put into this as opposed to just being with my family and making sure
That's
that
always
they're
the
getting
question.
that.
Yeah, that is always the question. I do the same thing, like you just, because you want to be with your family and everything, but there's also a point where you're expressing your own creativity and you are fulfilling your divine purpose or whatever, whatever you want, you're putting out there into the world and everything. And you can do both. And so I think that what you're doing is actually kind of perfect because you do have that opportunity with your children to actually do all of the things that you want to do. And
yeah, because it kind of naturally happens. When you're the outdoors, like I said, is a perfect backdrop. It's a perfect setting for learning safety, connection, confidence, because like it just naturally you're going to be put in scenarios where you're going to have an obstacle you've got to overcome together and you're going to naturally connect. You're going to naturally build that confidence. So it's about conscientiously making sure we are doing those things while we're out there. And so not only helping parents like, oh, get out there, but finding a way to give them the tools and the skills. So while they are out there, they can use these things to help their children.
Yeah. Like conversation starters or something like that to help out. I really like that. Okay. So tell me about these other programs that you've been trained in that have been really good for you.
So I love circle security parenting as well. It's attachment theory. I don't know if you know much about attachment theory.
A little bit. Yeah.
So it's about creating a secure attachment with our children.
Okay.
So being there when they have these needs, it's like children on a circle. They're constantly going out and exploring their world, and then they're coming back into you for different things, for comfort or for protection or for different things. And the circle's going to look really small when they're little. They're going to, you watch little kids, they go out and they go play, and they'll sometimes just a couple minutes later, they just need to come up, touch mom, like, oh, look at me. And then they can go back out, or they need a hug because they got hurt. The circle gets a little bit bigger as they get older, especially as teens.
Right.
But they do come back in. And so it's creating that secure attachment, always trying to look for those needs that they might have. They have specific needs as they go out on the circle and specific needs as they come back in. And so it's creating that attachment so that they know that they have somebody there, which also is part of that connection. And
exactly.
Everything.
Okay. So what does that look like? So tell me, like, for how old are your kids?
So I have an 11-year-old, an 8-year-old, almost 4-year-old, and an 8-month-old.
Okay, so for your 11-year-old, what does that look like now? His circle's a little bit bigger,
His is
right?
bigger. He doesn't want to really come talk to me. I'm kind of becoming uncool to him, which is totally fine. Like this morning, for example, sometimes he just doesn't want to chat with me, but I was trying to get all ready to come and everything. And it's like, this morning is when he wanted to tell me all about his classes and his day and how today is like his hardest day of the week. And it was hard because I was like, oh, I really want to connect with you. I got to get the baby ready. I was like, I got to do all these things. So it was very much, I tried to like slow down, and a few times I'd be like, oh, I got to go do this thing. I'll be back. But just looking at like occasionally he'll want to come in and talk. And so just being there when he does. Because his is more, I want to be there to talk. Or last night he asked, will you come play soccer with me? And so just trying to be there on those times that they do come.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, because as it gets bigger, and I've got adult children, married children now, and things like that, and it does like they don't need you as much. And sometimes I'm wondering, did I do something wrong? Like, do they not want to be around me anymore?
totally natural. It's completely natural.
That makes me feel better because I'm like, I think it's been a week since I talked to my daughter.
And they still need you. They'll still come back in, just not as often.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think about it. It's interesting though, because now that I'm older and my kids are kind of going away, I'm coming back to my mom more than I was before. Like maybe the circle gets, as you realize,
I didn't think about that before.
I don't know. I just thought of that because because I'm finding I'm reaching out to my mom more, but I think it might be partly because I have more time because I don't have little kids that are taking up all my time, but also because I realize it's getting to end of life for them. And I don't want to miss any of those moments. I want that connection still. And so that's really interesting.
It never quite ends. We still want connection with our parents, even as we get older, and it never truly ends.
Yeah. Well, as long as you've developed that relationship that you want to have that closeness.
As long as you do have that secure attachment. And it starts young. It starts as early as I think it's 11 months is where they really, you notice an infant. I'll notice my baby, they'll be looking away, exploring the world, and then they come right back to look at you to make sure you're still there. They'll look away. The 4-year-old, he'll be on a playground, he'll be playing, and then, Mom, look at me. Okay, you gotta show him in there.
And at 11 months too, that is kind of when they start having that, what do they call it? Anxiety or whatever, where they just they want to be with the parent all the time too. So that makes sense because they want that attachment. So as a parent, when you're a parent of that young child, I guess you just need to be really aware and really deliberate when your child needs you, that you just look them in the eye.
Get on their level. A lot of people, they start panicking, especially in the class, oh no, have I messed up my child? And the answer is no, it's never too late. And there's no such thing as perfect parenting. There's no such thing. Actually, there's research. Ed Tronick's done a lot of research on this. If you're attuned to your child's needs, 30% of the time, just 30% of the time you get it right, where, they have a need, you're there, you're able to meet it, you're emotionally available, then that's good enough parenting.
I can do 30%. Okay.
And the key though, we always talk about that, but then the other key is 33% or whatever. It's sometimes we just mess it up completely. That'll just happen. But as long as another 33%, where if we do it wrong, we don't do it right, we go and we make repair, we apologize, or we do those types of things, then that's actually more powerful than doing it right, because then they see how you make a repair.
Yeah, which is super important because our kids, it's all part of resilience, right? If our kids only see us doing it right all the time, they're going to compare themselves to us. And I think that used to be kind of the parenting strategy. We should never let our children see us fight. We should never let our children see us upset. I'm just going to put on a smile, even though I'm feeling depressed or I'm feeling angry or whatever. I'm just going to, for my children, to protect them. But actually, it's not that we want to be yelling and do it wrong all the time, but we do want them to be able to see how we deal with.
Yeah, that's how they learn. Yeah. And it goes back to that emotional safety. They need to feel safe to fail. They need to know that if they fail, there's a way to come back from that.
Yeah, exactly. And that you're always going to be there for that. So, yeah. Okay. We're about halfway through this episode of the Sendy Mom Podcast. Our mission at Sendy Mom is to build, lift, encourage, persuade, and inspire women to feel empowered in their lives. If you like hearing positive and inspiring stories, please help me bring positive messages to the world and rate, review, and share this episode. You can find Sendy Mom on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and online at sendymom.com. The next episode of Sendy Mom will be a conversation with my sister-in-law, Kim Dodds. You are in for a treat. Kim is fun, wickedly good at pickleball, and has been through her share of trials, including tragic loss, raising an angel daughter who has Down syndrome and autism, going through cancer treatments while raising 6 young children, and always doing so with a stellar attitude. Check out the calendar on sendymom.com for information about tea parties. I try to do these a few times a year. Just meet other Sendy women, network, find friends that you can trust. Let me know if you knew my address by emailing me at becky@sendymom.com. To receive an update every time a new episode is added and for special bonus content, you can subscribe at sendymom.com totally free. Also, I am practicing to be a life coach. I am genuinely interested in helping people live a more fulfilling life and discover what they truly want. I have been studying with Jody Moore in her Better Than Happy Life Coach School. I want a lot of practice, so I am offering 100 free life coaching calls. There are only about 75 spots left, so if you are interested in a free coaching call, please find my calendar attached to the show notes or online at sendymom.com. I'm also interested in helping people who are in the second half of life find purpose and meaning and understand what they want for this second half of life. We will explore the things we take or leave from our ancestors, financial considerations, philanthropy, relationships, identity, and what goal setting is and how to get to your vision. This program will include 4 classes once per week. I can take the first 5 people or couples who sign up. It will be over Zoom and will be a private consultation. Enjoy the rest of my conversation with TaLisha Landon. Okay, so tell me about another crossroads that you've been in at your life and how you made a decision. What caused you to decide to write this children's book?
I want to get this message out there, but I want to do it in a way that I feel creative. I feel comfortable with, and I feel like this is my best way to get that message out there. Is it helps me be creative and the painting and all of that. I want to create something that can have an emotional attachment to that people can go back to, and it can teach them, but in an everyday scenario. But I learned how to paint. I don't know if you've been following on Sundays. I now show like my progress of the painting, and like those first paintings are really bad. But I planned. I was like, no, I can get good at this. I'm going to keep going every day. I'm going to paint until I can get this. And I want to show like I did this for you, to show you like I value our time that we've had in the mountains. I value all these lessons we've learned and everything. So if anything, it's a gift to my children. And so if it also is out there, put out to the world, and that's great too.
And that's one thing to remember too, is like, it's not to be showy. It's like, it's something, when you do something, it's because you just want to do it. It's not because you need any of the accolades.
And I found that in this last year, like we took a trip to Canada, and I have some amazing photos from it. I haven't even shared them, but it's like, it's almost like it's more special to me that I haven't, like, this is for my family.
Yeah, it's personal. Yeah. And
Personal.
That's really what's the important things are. What is something that kind of terrifies you, but that you would really like to learn?
I haven't really thought of this. You know what? This is something from my past. I don't necessarily want to do it now, but something from my past that kind of shows. So when I was about 13 years old, my brother became friends with this couple that they're very Sendy. Okay. He was like on the U.S. Olympic ski team. Like they're very Sendy, and they took him up Mount Rainier. I remember one year he said to me, "Hey, TaLisha, would you like to try the skeleton?" It's
no way.
Like where you're laying on. And I remember at the time being like, he was like, you can't scream the whole way down. And I remember at the time, I think he sensed my hesitation and was like, okay, no. But looking back, I'm like, I wish that, because deep down, I think at the time I remember being hesitant, but actually kind of wanting to try it.
Right.
Because I've had this secretly, like, I want to be Sendy and stuff. And so like something like that, I would love to try, just something exhilarating.
Yeah, exactly. Super Sendy like that. Yeah, like Nicole Picus Pace. But she would be awesome. I would love to get her on this.
One of the questions you sent me was, what makes you a Sendy mom?
Yeah.
Because I've always been like, I'm not cool. Like last time my husband was like, you're a cool person. So she was like, I don't feel like I am.
You're so cool. I would set the record straight right there.
It was like, what makes me a Sendy mom? And I was thinking about that, like when my oldest was very, very little. Like we did take him camping that first, he was like 5 weeks old, but I was with my husband. Like anytime I do anything more big was with him. Going by myself, there were a couple things, like I was a cautious child and I am a cautious person, but I will take calculated risks.
Yeah.
If I feel comfortable, and I do those things. And the first things I did with him was just, okay, we don't have much money right now. I don't have much knowledge, education on how to get out in the mountains and do things, but I can go on walks in our neighborhood. Yeah. And so just going and taking that one step at a time, I think that's when I first started being like, I can be Sendy. It might just be a walk around the neighborhood, but I'm starting that first step.
I love that. Yeah. And so often, I mean, it was the same thing with your painting too, right? You just pick up the paintbrush and you just start.
Yeah, you just start. And then as you get more confidence and I started getting more like knowledge and I had more kids and I was like, oh, I can do this. Let me now take them to this little trail that's just by the house. And just taking that step to step. That's why I always just want to tell people all the time, like, you don't have to do anything big. You don't have to just take one little step and forward and you can do that.
Well, and then oftentimes, don't you think like we get to a point where we're doing things that are really hard and we don't even realize that we got there because it was all these incremental steps, right?
We don't realize until it's like eating the elephant. Like you can't eat it whole. It's just like you finally eventually will get there. You just do these little things each day.
Yeah. Okay, tell me about the places in Utah that you've been that you would go back to or that you love. favorite hikes or,
Oh, I have so many favorites. Oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin. Since it's winter, but we don't have much of a winter. Like when it comes to snowshoeing, one of my favorite snowshoe places, the Limber Pine Trail in Logan Canyon.
Okay.
Because I'm very much an avalanche safety person. I take calculated risks. I won't go anywhere with avalanche terrain, like that type of thing. And it's a safe where you're
Did
still.
you get avalanche trained?
No, I just went to like one of the Avi, like just nights where they talk about a little bit, but I'm not that Sendy.
Okay.
Or I'm not doing super backcountry, but you still get that backcountry feel. And I'll never forget when we did that the first time and it was actively snowing and it was just beautiful. You're in the backcountry. And so when it comes to snowshoeing, that's my favorite snowshoe spot.
Beautiful.
When it comes to, oh man.
Have you done backpacking with your kids at all? Okay.
But we do simple things. So my favorite backpacking place with kids is Ruth Lake in the Uintas. It's a mile in, a mile out. So it's a great beginner, like kids can do it. You feel confident. Like I think one night I didn't want to like go to the bathroom in the woods. So I literally ran to the trailhead and just went to the bathroom there type thing. Like
it's a mile.
Yeah. It's a good, simple, and that's actually my favorite place to go with kids for backpacking. Really anywhere in the Uintas. Oh, Christmas Meadows is another favorite. Down south, you've got the slot canyon. I'm just, there's so many. I don't even know if I could.
Have you done slot canyons with your kids? Do you do, and they rappel down and everything? Or
I've never done a rappel down one.
Okay.
I really like, I can't even think of it right now. Wire Pass, I think is what it's called. Slot Canyon. It's the longest slot canyon in the world. I think it's like 30 miles, but we didn't do the whole thing. You just go in and you come out. And actually, that's one of my favorite memories of my now 3-year-old is it was his first slot canyon. And he was like looking up. He kept saying, wow, I literally had other people on the trail stop and just watch him because he was like, wow.
So overwhelmed by the beauty.
And it was one of those things where, again, I was like, oh, I wish I would have filmed that. That would have been like the coolest video. But then also I literally just stood there and took it in. I actually did snap a picture, but stood there and just took it in, him doing that. And so like I have that ingrained.
How old was he then?
He was a year and a half, maybe 2.
Yeah. And did you have him in a backpack or something, back carrier? Okay.
Yeah. My husband was carrying him.
What are some of the tools that you have found most helpful when you're taking your kids out?
So I really try and just go back to that emotional safety, connection, confidence. That helps. I think the absolute best. So I actually struggle the most myself with the emotional safety. Whenever a child is dysregulated, they're crying or they're mad or they're screaming, I become dysregulated. And so that's something I'm actually working within myself so that I can be with them. But I found like if they're on a trail and it's hard and they just want to sit there and, have to emotional safety. Okay, it's okay that they're upset about this. I need to just sit down with them and just be with them and then connect with them on different things and as they're there. And
okay, so if you're going on like a canyoneering experience or something like that, what are some of the things that you should bring with you as for your kids? Like you have a backpack for ones under 3 or something like that, and you have what like
aside from of course water and like a first aid kit, things like that. A lot of times, actually, one of my best things to take, especially around actually even the 3-year-old, but like 7, 8 is a camera. The kids' cameras, little digital camera is one of my favorites. They love taking pictures of, and it helps kind of get them along the trail. So we often will try and bring a child's camera for them. We also do geocaching a lot. Now, Slot Canyon, I don't think would really have any actual physical geocaches.
But in the Uintas, there's a lot of
the
them.
Uintas, like everywhere, there really are a lot. And that kind of helps be like a treasure hunt for kids where they just, oh, I'll keep going. Let's go to the next.
Yeah. We lived in Switzerland for a few years. And when my kids were really little, and we would hike all over Europe, and we didn't have, we had one digital camera. Like I had my digital camera, but so we didn't do that, but I would make up stories, and I told so many stories as we were walking to keep them going, because you have to keep them motivated, because otherwise it gets to be complaining, and then you get dysregulated, right?
Yes.
Because you're like,
I'm like, come on, let's go.
Exactly.
But the story, so my husband is so good at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Being silly with kids. That's such a big thing. That's also a way you can connect with kids, is being silly. They'll do so much more if we, make funny stories up, or funny, we do parodies a lot, like just doing funny games. And we actually have a game we like to play, and the kids love it, where it's called the topic game, where somebody picks a topic. It could be sports or, hiking. It can be whatever. And then another person picks a letter. And we have to rotate through saying a word that starts with that letter that has to do with the topic.
Oh, I like that.
And once you can't think of something, you're out. And so the kids love that game. It gets them, it's past so much time where like you just don't think about, hey, we're on a trail.
I love that. Yeah. So
just getting creative with games and just being there talking
and
with
not
them.
sweating the small stuff. Like it's that whole, I like what you said about like just regulating yourself. Cause when kids get bored, especially, and they're like, are we there yet? Are we there? And you're like, I'm out here, I'm taking you outside, and I'm being such a good parent. Just enjoy it. And it's really, we're just kind of getting bored too, or it's hard to think of new things to do. But if you can just take a moment to relax and say, yes, I'm frustrated. Yes, I'm frustrated. And you let it kind of go through you, then you can kind of get back into that mode of being a good parent.
And then you can help them do that. Because I can't regulate a child if I'm not regulated. And that's where I struggle the absolute most. My child's dysregulated. And I am, and working on myself first, kind of like the oxygen mask thing. You can't help someone else until you put on your own oxygen mask.
Yeah. Well, you can even tell your kid too, right? You can say, I'm actually feeling a little bit frustrated right now. Give me a second.
Yes. That's exactly what that's what we teach in those classes. And circle security is like, you have a time in and a time out, but timeouts are used differently. Like, I need a timeout. Like, I just need a place to be able to calm down first, and then I can come talk to you, and letting kids know.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. No, and I hear my grandchildren doing that sometimes. My daughter-in-law will say to him, like, I can be patient. And then he'll stand back and say, I can be patient. I'm like, that's really good. So, yeah, the things but we're constantly teaching, and it's not something that needs to make us feel pressured. It's part of, just the self-awareness of how am I showing up right now? And do I like how I'm showing up right now? Well, then they're probably not going to like it either if I don't like it. And so I'm going to explain to them what's going on, and then it fixes it. If 30% of the time, if I fix it, then it's going to be fine. It's going to be great. And honestly, our children have to go through hard things. We had to go through hard things to learn. And so to expect our children to not have to go through these hard things is impossible.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy.
It's just natural. We're going to go through hard things in life. I hear a lot of times parents be like, I just want my kid to be happy. And that's a great, worthwhile goal to have. Like, I just want my kids to be happy. Yeah. But that's not life. They're going to face hardships. They're going to face unhappiness. Yeah. So helping them have skills to get through those, that's resilience. It's not just pushing through, because then you create an adult that's going to just have struggles later because they just push through it. But teaching them the skills so that when they do, they can get through it easily, but then they can also learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and that's exactly what we want for our children. We want them to be independent. My goodness, I love all of this stuff we've talked about. Like, circles thing was huge. That's pretty good. And I love learning about like Maslow's pyramid and all of the, being able to meet each need a little bit at a time, and being able to do that through being in nature, connecting in nature. I find I talk a lot better when I go on walks. So if I try to, if I want to go and hang out with a friend, I'd rather go on a walk with them than just sitting and
When
talking a
you're
lot of
doing
times.
something side by side, there's so much research on that. Like people open up more, kids will open up more instead of just sitting face to face.
Yeah, exactly. This is pretty good too.
Yeah.
As long as I've got good questions for you, then it works out. We
That's
have a
great.
great conversation too. And there's something about the energy being in the same room together too that makes a big difference. Well, I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Fire away.
And we'll start with what has brought you joy in the last 24 hours.
So yesterday I had so much I need to do. I need to go to the library and return some books. I need to go to the store. I need to do all these different things. I need to exercise. I need to do all these things. But I also need to be with my little ones. I have the 8-month-old and the 3-year-old. And I was like, how about we walk to the library? It's a 1.5 mile walk.
Okay.
Just there. And then back in the store is fairly close too. And so he rode his little bike and I walked and we went to the library, went to the store. I had a bunch of fruit in the bottom of the stroller and we saw a park on our way back. And I was just like, should we have a picnic with the fruit? Because that's what we need. We're out of produce. So I just got a bunch of produce. And my little boy, I wish I had a microphone on him or something. I mic'd up or something because he just the whole way, I love you, Mom. This was a great day. Thank you for the picnic. And so that's probably brought me the most joy was just he just loved that. He told everybody when my husband got home, when his older siblings got home, guess what we did? We walked to the library and the store and the park that's straight over there. We had a picnic and that just brought joy because I was able to get not only everything I need to done, but also be with him.
That's so good. Yeah. And sometimes that's all it takes is just thinking through it a little bit more creatively and being more intentional about how you're going to do it. So I love that. That's so fun. It was so beautiful yesterday too.
Yeah, it was perfect.
Yeah, it was a great day for it. Okay. So tell me about a recent book that you've read that you recommend or you think
So probably the most recent book I read was that Range, Why Generalists Triumph in a Specialized World. And I think everyone should read it. So my son, who's 11, in 2nd grade, he started competition soccer. And I part regret it, especially after reading that book. I was like, I wish I would have waited. But it was so hard because the coach was someone at the school and his best friend was the son of the coach.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong. Yeah. But I see him burning out a little bit. Okay. And I was like, and he loves soccer. But it's one of those, I think everyone should read it and just learn about those sampling years and just try to
do lots of different things.
Yeah.
And just because he's in competition soccer doesn't mean that he can't do piano
it's quite interesting because the sampling years are up to 11 and he's 11 and a half. And it's been fun this last 6 months even to see his just expanding his horizons. Like, he's in robotics. He's got the state robotics championship coming up and he does speed. He's going to be in his first speed cubing competition. Cool. Like, do you want to try archery? We got archery for Christmas. He's like, do you want to be in a competition for that? He's like, yeah. Like, he's just trying these new things. It's been fun to watch.
Well, and honestly, we really can sample all through our whole life. I mean, as you've done with your writing and your art, we can just continue to sample forever. But yes, it is formative during those years. So that's awesome. Okay, what about a documentary or TV show that you like to watch?
Oh, I love The Office. It's kind of funny because I watch The Office all the time. And I found it's like as soon as that song comes on at the beginning, it's like my nervous system is like calming down and regulating.
Really?
And there's research behind that. I just learned not too long ago that it will actually cause your nervous system to calm down and become regulated when you watch a familiar show. And so if you want to be able to, you need to calm down, just watch a familiar show.
I love that. Okay, I'm going to totally do that. And I love The Office too.
I love it.
Yes, I need to go back to Seinfeld too. That was a really good one in the day.
Probably the only one I like. It takes a lot for me to laugh. It's kind of funny. It's interesting. And plays and stuff, I like to sit there and just not laugh. But The Office will get me belly laughing every time. I've watched it 3 times, all the way down.
It's got you.
So,
that's awesome. Okay, what about a charity or nonprofit that you support?
So one of my favorites is the Ogden Nature Center because I'm up in Ogden, and so we're doing all things around there, and I love it. It's a great place to go if you want. You want a safe. You're new to getting out and outdoors with your kids, and you want to be somewhere where you feel safe and you can still do that. It's the perfect setting. It's right there. It's so affordable.
Yeah,
and it's just. they do a lot of great conservation stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. What about a favorite vacation spot?
So I do not have a favorite vacation spot. I couldn't tell you a place in Utah. I was just like, there's everywhere. I just love going to new places. We tend to go to the Outer Banks a lot because that's where my husband grew up going since he's from back east. But we'd like to go every other year, every 3 years. But while I still love it, it's his favorite vacation spot. Mine's just
wherever, but mainly outdoors.
Yes.
Like outdoor stuff.
That's the big thing. Anywhere where we can go see a beautiful view in the outdoors.
I love that. That's really great. What about one thing that you try to do every day?
So lately it's been paint just because I'm doing that. But also I've been trying when it comes to my kids, just spending, even if it's a couple minutes one-on-one time, like that bedtime, like just being there listening to them. I try to really listen to them and not be distracted with phone or the things I need to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Just sit down and listen to them. I love that. That's great. And what do you think I should try next?
You should try some watercolor. It's just fun and soothing at night, especially at night when you're just trying to wind down. And
okay, that's a great idea.
You should try painting.
Yeah. Okay. I've had a couple other artists on the program, and they've challenged me to do the same. So I really probably need to start. I need to get busy doing something.
I'd say snowshoeing because that's my favorite winter thing to do. But we're
almost done with that. Darn it. Yeah. But it's, definitely snowshoeing. And I haven't done a ton of it. We do have some snowshoes, but that's great. Well, I'll have to try a little bit of painting. Well, it's been so fun to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that we finally were able to connect and get you over here and everything. And some great tips and great things that you've shared with us today. And I am excited to see where you're going to go from here. So tell people where you can find you again on Instagram.
Yeah, so it's Utah Mountain Mama.
Okay.
So Utah Mountain and then Mama, MAMA.
Okay. Yeah. So look for her there. She's got some amazing stuff because you're a photographer too.
I'm learning. I got a camera 3 years ago, more to just supplement like what I put on Utah Mountain Mama, but also I love photography. I wanted something for my, to have good photos that we placed.
Really, really well-rounded. You've got a lot of different talents. So
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for listening in today. And we will see you the next time on Sendy Mom. In the words of Eleanor Roosevelt, do something every day that scares you.